There are moments when it seems like the universe itself takes justice into its own hands. In such cases, all that's left to say is, well, karma has worked. Its principle is simply relentless. The bolder the act, the more spectacular the retribution. And especially in the USA, where surveillance cameras and smartphones turn the streets into a giant film set, karma simply has no chance of staying off screen. Here, every conflict can easily become a visual guide on how not to behave. Let's take a look at the most striking cases of instant karma across the United States of America. Camera, action, fine. A flagrant incident occurred on one of the busy highways in Connecticut. On a narrowing section of the highway, a driver in a Honda made a dangerous overtake, cutting off a peacefully riding motorcyclist and pushing him into the oncoming lane. The motorcyclist miraculously managed to avoid a collision and signaled to the careless driver to give him the right of way. However, she continued to persistently push him aside, seemingly confident in her impunity and that she was the main one on the road. Many drivers in similar situations resort to foul language and aggressive gestures. But this motorcyclist chose a different strategy. He remained calm and recorded the violation with his helmet camera. He immediately approached a police officer he encountered on the same road literally a minute later. The biker stopped right away and showed the officer the dashcam footage, which clearly captured the violation. The law enforcement officer immediately set off in pursuit of the violator. A few minutes later, she was stopped and fined $300 for the dangerous maneuver. A rather unpleasant injection against audacity. The published footage quickly became popular on social media, garnering thousands of views. And perhaps next time, when someone wants to make a dangerous maneuver on the road, they will think twice. What if they're being filmed? Murphy's Law. An ordinary day for an elderly taxi driver from Pennsylvania could have ended in tragedy, but fate, against all odds, played out a scene from a comedy blockbuster. It all starts very tensely. When a passenger in a white mask with a gun appeared in the back seat of the light taxi, the driver immediately realized it was a robbery. With trembling hands, he took out all his $11 from his pocket and handed them to the robber. The criminal was indignant. He was clearly expecting a bigger haul, but his disappointments did not end there. Behind the taxi, as if on purpose, a police patrol stopped. The officers instantly assessed the situation. The slightly open door, the frightened face of the driver, the strange passenger in a mask. What the robber felt when he was suddenly pinned to the hood and handcuffed, one can only guess. The funniest part is that the taxi driver ended up keeping his money. As reported by the media, the detainee had already broken the law before, but now he is about to face a much more serious charge. This absurd case shows that crime not only ruins the lives of those who decide to go against the law, but it can also be surprisingly ridiculous. Slow and steady wins the race. On the busy highway leading to Port Everglades, an incident unfolded. An instructive scene worthy of a textbook on road etiquette. Several trucks, adhering to the speed limit, slightly slowed down. The flow of traffic. A common situation when approaching a major port, but for the driver of the black car, these few minutes of waiting seemed like an unacceptable sacrifice. He sharply swerved to the right, driving onto what seemed like a convenient wide shoulder, but ended up stuck in a ditch for a long time without help. It's unlikely he'll manage to get out of this foolish situation now. One must not forget that such troubles can happen to anyone. And it's not always due to our own fault. You've been in an accident in America and don't know what to do next. Where to seek help? Where to find a competent lawyer? How to get compensation if you don't have insurance? The company, Accident America, has helped obtain $21 million in compensations for its clients. Here they will definitely answer all your questions. Link in the description. Size matters. This incident occurred in a supermarket parking lot where one of the visitors decided that a shopping cart would be a great bonus to his purchases. Making sure no one was watching him, the man calmly got to work and loaded the shopping cart into the trunk of his car. That's where the problems began. The cart, which seemed so compact, at first glance turned out to be much larger than he anticipated. When the man tried to slam the trunk shut, the metal wheels pressed right against the rear window. A deafening crunch was heard, and within a second the parking lot asphalt was covered with thousands of sparkling shards. The stunned thief froze in place, not believing his eyes. His adventure instantly turned into an expensive mistake. Quickly looking around, he pulled the cart out of the trunk and left it next to the shards, the only traces at the scene of the comical crime. The second before, karma caught up with him in just a minute. This overconfident man decided to impress the camera. First, he casually tossed bundles of money towards the cameraman, and then, as if that wasn't enough, he pulled out a gun and started waving it around. However, life decided to teach him a lesson in good manners. Barely had he stepped away when police officers appeared around him with weapons at the ready. It turned out that his antics were accidentally noticed by a passing patrol. The one who a minute ago was posing with a gun and money was now quietly standing in handcuffs. The money he had so carelessly thrown around became evidence, and the gun was grounds for a serious charge. It was especially ironic to see how quickly the situation changed. Life taught him a vivid lesson. Your behavior in front of the camera defines your character and the ability to take responsibility for your actions, especially when surrounded by armed police. The joke did not succeed. It all started with a harmless joke. The girl decided to prank her blonde friend. With a smile, she held an egg over his head, anticipating how the yolk would run down his hair. However, fate had a surprise in store for her. As intended, the egg cracked on the guy's head, but most of the yolk unexpectedly splashed out like a fountain, right into the prankster's face. The guy just blinked in confusion, while the girl ended up covered in raw omelette. Out of nowhere. This plan seemed so simple that at first glance nothing could go wrong. A man in a red cap entered the store at night, nervously looked around, and headed straight to the beer section. Without much thought, he grabbed 2 packs of beer cans and rushed to the exit. At the most crucial moment, when he was just a step away from freedom, his legs betrayed him. Out of nowhere, he slipped and fell to the floor, sprawling right in front of the doors. The cans fell out and rolled across the floor, and the red cap slipped down over his eyes. And there was nothing left to do but quickly run away, taking only a few cans of stolen beer. Nothing foreshadowed trouble. In the middle of the day, in a quiet American neighborhood, the owner of a black sports car decided to demonstrate the power of his vehicle. And he put on a show with a sad ending. With the characteristic roar of the engine, his car abruptly shot out from the parking spot. But instead of a spectacular start, it resulted in an expensive embarrassment. Instead of an impressive acceleration, the driver almost immediately lost control of the car. The sports car made a sharp, unexpected maneuver, failed to maintain control, and crashed into a parked car on the other side of the road. The impact was so strong that it left significant damage on both the neighboring car and the sports car. The driver of the sports car received a fine for violating traffic rules. The owner of the damaged car had to contact the insurance company for compensation. The steps prevailed. On the gloomy street of the residential area, a figure of a man appears. His movements are measured and calm. It seems as if he is just strolling, engrossed in a phone conversation. Methodically inspecting the porch, he finally notices his target. A neat cardboard box left at the front door of one of the houses. Ensuring there are no witnesses, he takes a quick step forward, a nimble bend. And now the package is securely hidden under his loose sweater. At first glance, it seems that nothing can stop him now. But the very first step turns out to be slippery. His foot suddenly slides to the side, the body loses balance and falls. The coveted cardboard box flies out from under the sweater onto the ground. The man turns onto his side. Several uncertain attempts to get up end in failure. Clenching his teeth, he manages to get up, but after a few steps, it becomes clear that he will only crawl to the nearest alley by morning. Caught, therefore a thief. A quiet day at the communications salon on the outskirts of Houston began as usual. The salespeople were preparing for the lunchtime rush of customers. A few visitors were choosing new phones, and a young mother was paying a bill at the cashier. Nothing foreshadowed that in a few minutes. A story would unfold here that would make the news and become yet another vivid example of instant karma. Suddenly, a man of average height in a gray hoodie with a hood entered the door. His voice was trembling and his eyes were darting around the room. He immediately approached the cashier and uttered a phrase that changed the course of events. "All the money, put it in the bag. Quickly." At that moment, there were 3 women in the salon. Their reaction could serve as material for a textbook on behavior in emergency situations. Instead of panic, a sober assessment of the situation. Instead of hysteria, coordinated actions. The decisive moment came when the last of the women reached the exit. The automatic lock worked flawlessly, making that very click that divided the situation into before and after what was happening inside the store. The next 10 minutes could be observed through the glass door. The robber first froze in shock, then began to frantically yank the handle. When that didn't work, he resorted to more aggressive methods. With his shoulder, his foot, he even tried to break the glass with a chair. But the iron bars on the doors and windows withstood everything. The most telling moment. The moment came when the criminal, realizing the hopelessness of the situation, dropped to his knees and began begging the people outside to help him open the door. The arriving officers encountered the following scene. The robber was sitting on the floor with his hands raised and an expression of complete despair on his face. The arrest procedure went without incident. The criminal looked too broken. This story gained wide resonance not only because it was caught on video. The absurdity of this story is further enhanced by the fact that the same robber had already robbed them a week earlier. He left the store with $2,000 and several expensive smartphones. Instant response. A middle-aged man is crossing the road at a crosswalk when a car carefully stops in front of him, following the rules. It seemed like an ordinary situation, but suddenly the pedestrian starts hurling insults at the driver. A real storm of emotions in the middle of the roadway lasted no more than a few seconds. Waving his arms, the troublemaker completely forgot to look around, and his forehead forcefully meets the rest of the pole, of the traffic light. The rage instantly turns into anger, then into even greater rage. The driver in the car, who became an unwitting witness to this scene, sees karma at work firsthand. Sometimes it works not only flawlessly, but also, and very quickly. You can't escape fate. In the quiet town of Basel, Washington, a courier left 3 packages at the doorstep, one of which contained expensive medication. Shortly after the delivery, a suspicious car pulled up to the house and a young woman got out. She immediately rushed to the left-behind boxes. However, at the moment she grabbed the first package, something unexpected happened. The woman broke her leg, falling to the ground without noticing any obstacle in front of her. She continued to clutch the stolen box in her hands. Her accomplice, who stayed in the car, initially didn't understand what had happened. Seeing his partner lying on the ground, writhing in pain, he jumped out of the car. While the woman was rolling on the asphalt, clutching her leg, her accomplice was frantically darting between her and the remaining packages. In the end, he loaded all the boxes into the car, somehow squeezed the injured accomplice in as well, and hurriedly drove away. Later, the homeowner posted the surveillance footage, accompanied by an ironic comment. "I love karma, it dealt with them appropriately." Golf tour in Florida. Sunny Florida once again became the setting for an absurd yet instructive road incident. An intoxicated local clearly overestimated his ability to drive a golf cart, even though those around him unanimously urged him not to get in. Behind the wheel, observing how he struggled to move his legs. He started off quite confidently, but after driving the first 5 feet, the golf cart suddenly jerked to the side and our hero, unable to control it, gracefully tumbled onto the asphalt. Of course, sometimes you just need to stop in time, and it seems it didn't end all that badly. Quick retribution. Another shopping trip to Walmart turned into quite a show when an enraged customer decided to confront a store employee in an unusual way. Instead of a verbal altercation, the man attempted to ram the employee with a shopping cart at full speed. But the Walmart employee was not easily intimidated. Dodging the first strike, he deftly grabbed the aggressor's arm as he tried to turn around for another charge. What happened next left all the witnesses frozen in place. One precise hit, and the enraged customer fell to the floor like a sack of potatoes. It was dangerous. A young cyclist decided to showcase his skills. Standing on the rear wheel, he skillfully pranced down the road, completely unaware of how the fine line between a stunt and recklessness began to blur. Caught up in the moment, he rolled onto the oncoming lane, where he continued to balance on one wheel in front of passing cars. Several times he miraculously managed to avoid collisions. Perhaps that's why he noticed the approaching car too late. Next time, we hope he will use the bicycle as intended. VIP area. The concert atmosphere was boiling with energy from the massive crowd when one of the spectators, fueled by adrenaline, decided to climb over the barrier, into the VIP section, right in front of the security guard. But what he assumed was a breach in security received an almost immediate and very telling response. The security guard on the bike didn't even flinch until the intruder was half a meter away from him. Then a sharp slap to the face, and the overconfident guy was already staggering back, clutching his reddened cheek. The sound of the slap echoed through the rows, causing everyone to freeze. The crowd around erupted in laughter and exclamations. Dozens of phones shot up to capture the shameful retreat of the daredevil. The security guard, without even glancing at the intruder, returned to his work, occasionally rubbing his palm. The only sign that the incident even took place. And the video of his professional reaction was already spreading across social media. Thank you for watching. Karma caught up with him in just a minute,